How's it going, everybody? This is a big video. They're going to be showcasing the new roguelike game mode coming to Marvel Strike Force, which is going to be called, you guessed it, Danger Room. I did get to playtest this game mode. I have some thoughts on it, which I will share at the end of this reaction-esque video. But let's go ahead and let Pathfinder show us what the new roguelike Danger Room is going to be all about.
Welcome back, Commanders, to another episode of Strike Spot. Today I am joined by Max, who has been working on the new roguelike game mode. Max, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone at home?
Hey there, I'm Max. I am a technical designer on Marvel Strike Force. I've been here for about 4 years working across the board on combat and systems and tooling, and recently I've been working on new game modes.
I met Max in LA. I really like Max. Really, really cool guy. And his partner, who I'm not sure they're going to show or not. If they show him, I'll bring that up. I know how passionate they are about this game mode, but also just about the game and how they're not. I'm not trying to insinuate this about other people, but they're not boring gamers. Like, they know how to make a game interesting, fun, memeable, difficult, but also rewarding. So I'm excited to see the direction that they're going to be taking with this video, and also how this game mode will evolve over time.
And speaking of the new game mode, we have not revealed the name yet. I think we all wanted that to be a big reveal. So I think we're going to give it to you, Max. What is the new game mode going to be called?
I'm honored. I am excited to say that the new game mode will take place in the Danger Room, which is super iconic training grounds in the Marvel universe.
Hold on for a second. I gotta make a thumbnail. I had a thumbnail for this. It wasn't gonna be that good. Hold on.
Well,
all right, we're back. I'm sorry. That was a really, really cool just animation for Danger Room. I wanted to make sure I stole that so I could use it in the future. So I'm just gonna let them kind of talk about this. I have a lot of thoughts and experiences that I'm pulling from my time playtesting this game mode, but I kind of want them to roll out everything first, so I'm not going to try and interrupt them too much going forward.
I know that a lot of people out there might not know what a roguelike is. You've also probably heard the term roguelite as well from some of our content creators, or just in general. So why don't you explain in kind of quick terms, what is a roguelike and how is it going to work in MSF?
Definitely. Yeah, so roguelike is a genre of games that leverages kind of procedural generation and permadeath in order to create super replayable and rewarding gameplay loops. Roguelite is pretty much the same, it's just a more modern version with some more modern mechanics. In the context of Danger Room, what you are going to be doing is you're going to be going into a procedurally generated dungeon with the goal of beating a final boss. And then along the way, you're going to be presented with a number of decisions that are going to be centered around building up your squad. So you might be presented with the option of adding one of 3 characters from your roster to your squad, or you might see combat modifiers pop up that you can add in, which are similar to Scourges. And the hope is that when you make it to the final boss, you built up your squad to be strong enough to actually defeat it. And if you didn't, then that's where the permadeath comes in. And so you go all the way back to the beginning, start from scratch, clean slate, and you try again. And so we're really encouraging players to think on their feet, try new things, and play with whatever strategy is kind of presented to them on that run.
So the way he presented that, once you play the mode, and I'm sure they're going to show it, it's going to make a lot of sense. But basically what he just said is, imagine a Scourge map that instead of having one linear line, procedurally generates like 3 different options every time you beat one node. So you beat node 1, and then you're going to get 3 different paths, which is going to become your node 2. When you beat node 2, it becomes 3 different paths. And unlike a Scourge where you pick all your packs at the very beginning of the trial, you're then introduced Scourges or like benefits or even new characters to add to your like usable roster when you beat a node, or when you take a certain path, which is going to have like a designated effect when you hit on it. So I'm sure they're going to show it, but just he used the word procedure a lot, which for someone like me, a truck driver, it went right over my head the first time. But after playing it, it's like that. So like you do node 1, 3 paths pop up. They're like predetermined, but there's such a wide variety of them, and that goes all the way out to, I think it's like 16 nodes or something like that. It's really, really non-repetitive. It's not like you're going to be doing Dark Dimension 2 over and over and over again, sort of thing. So it's good, and there's always going to be different scourges that you apply based on the nodes you do. You can bring different teams in depending on the characters that you earn from doing certain nodes. So it's pretty exciting. Let's get back to the video.
Very cool. So why are we introducing this mode now?
Definitely, yeah, we've wanted to make something like this for a while, and so I think what makes now the perfect time is that we've heard players for the last few months say that they want more and more PvE content.
Definitely.
Stuff like Scourges, stuff like Dark Dimensions that traditionally are pretty one-off. And so the goal was to make this very replayable from the get-go. Like, we designed it, and that's why we picked roguelike, for it to be replayable. And then the other big reason is that we wanted to create kind of a new experience in MSF, a brand new one that flips combat on its head. And so traditional combat, you know what tools you're going to go into it with. Like, you know that what your roster is, and you know what you can take in. And the interesting decisions that you're making are in combat. And we're kind of flipping that on its head by taking a lot of those interesting decisions and important decisions out of combat and up to the meta level, where you're actually going to be building up your squad, and that's kind of the more important thing that you're doing here.
Yeah, so I agree with what he said. Gameplay, so he said it's like a different sort of gameplay. It's a different sort of pre-gameplay. The gameplay itself is, at its core, still the same thing as every other Marvel Strike Force combat, which I call team deathmatch matches, right? Where it's my team's here, your team's there. I either kill your team and I win, or you kill my team and I lose. In this mode, if you kill a certain member on my team, they're gone until I find a way to heal them. It could be one of those paths I was alluding to. There's like a heal path. I think Marvel Strike Force still needs a revolutionary type of combat where it's like, I'm not expected to actually beat the enemy wave. There's some sort of scoring mechanism that my team is working at, and then either I eventually wipe out, or I only have like 40 turns to do what I'm trying to do, something like that. I still think it needs that. But when I was playing this roguelike mode, I had a lot of fun. The replayability is definitely there because, like he said, the decisions that you're making when you start the mode, you pick a couple characters, and then like when you get to choose a different character from a randomized list of the pool of characters that are there, or when you get to choose a scourge randomly from the list of scourges that are applicable to the danger room, then that's when like the gameplay fundamentally doesn't change, but the rules within the gameplay do, if that makes sense.
Can you talk a little bit about why we're trying to get it out as quickly as possible and some of the reasons behind that?
Yeah, that's a great question. The reason that we wanted to get it out and into players' hands so fast is because we know that when we put a game mode out, we're going to be iterating on it over the next some number of months or years in some game modes cases. And so we wanted to start that iteration process a lot earlier. This is fully playable as a new game mode. I wouldn't say it's a beta or anything. Like, it's a fun new game mode, and that's kind of what our bar was to actually ship it. But we're going to continue taking player feedback and trying to make it more and more fun throughout the next months, and that's why.
Yeah, so what he said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut him off there. What he's saying is absolutely true. I played this game mode for about 3 hours. I had a blast for 2 of those hours. Because after a while, it's like, okay, like, I've accrued so much kind of carryover points that I'm able to equip some really awesome effects. I've identified the best characters, the best team that I want to aim to build towards based on what I'm getting when I'm actually playing the game mode. And it was kind of a solved thing at that point. So I guess they're going to be adding ways that kind of disrupt that like solving of that equation too quickly. Also, if they play around, and I'm not sure what the rewards are going to be. I'm not even sure what the reward structure is going to be like. Maybe they'll get into it here. If they play around with how you get points towards a certain point total and how that affects whatever reward you're going to get, whether it be leaderboards or milestones, whatever the case may be, that could absolutely change how you want to do things. Like, I envision a world where it's like Team A is the best team when you start your danger room runs, and after a few runs, you're able to unlock a few different things in like the pre-danger room options that I'm sure they're going to go through. And then maybe all of a sudden Team B is actually better because maybe now, I've activated raid rules within the danger room because I've occurred so many points in my other run. So I think that they can absolutely play with it that way. Obviously, they're going to be very cautious with doing something too intense as far as game time goes. So I'm interrupting them too much. I said I wasn't going to. Let's just let them do their thing.
We're getting it out so early.
So let's kind of get into some of the nitty gritty with the danger room. So Max, walk me through how a normal run of the danger room is gonna go from start to finish.
Good.
Yeah, so you're going to be coming into the game mode, and you're going to start off by selecting a difficulty, and then you're going to click the Start Run button, which is going to generate an entirely new dungeon for you to go through.
You think was that a placeholder image? If that wasn't a placeholder image, that's very interesting. We got some Wakanda characters, and we have Kate Bishop. That's very interesting. You think we can see a return of those teams in the Age of Annihilus Chapter 2? Let me know in the chat, guys, in the comments. Is this just a placeholder image? Have we seen this exact image with these characters in it before? Because I don't think they would have built an image with a different background, these characters highlighted this way for no reason. So this is interesting.
Run button, which is going to generate an entirely new dungeon for you to go through. Every dungeon is going to be pretty unique. And the very first decision that you make is you're going to pick your starting characters. So every run of the event is going to have a list of characters that are associated with that event that you can find in the danger room. So we might have an event that you can only find X-Men, and you will be finding Cyclops or Jean Grey or that kind of thing. Or that we might have a run of the event, maybe the first run of the event, that you are finding Starjammers or Vigilantes or Thunderbolts. And so
that's the event I played. That's the version of it I played with Thunderbolts, Vigilante, and Starjammers.
So that very first decision that you're making is going to be from the full list of characters that are tied to the event, but going onwards, they're going to be randomly pulled from there.
So this is like the Scourge verbatim, right? We got the difficulty in the top left up here, and we have our packs here. Now the packs here, they're all beneficial. And this coin that is being shown here, this is something that you're actually going to earn from danger room run to danger room run so that you can activate more of these beneficial packs down the line. Because you start with 10 and you can do a couple here, like he's going to do allies damage, allies focus resistance. Nerd, you always go for the damage. But there's other ones down that are way more interesting, like X character does this, raid rules are active, which obviously if we're having Thunderbolts and Vigilante, that's a really powerful rule. So let's see where they go.
So once you pick your starting characters, you then are essentially fighting your way through the dungeon until you get to the final boss. Along the way, you're going to be encountering new types of nodes, not just combats, that let you give you those decisions to kind of build up your squad.
Okay, so you talk about how there are different room types. Can you name those and talk a little bit about each one of what you might be experiencing when you're actually in there?
Definitely, yeah. So visually, this is a node map, like a raid or like a Scourge. And so we're all familiar with the combat nodes. This has a few more that it adds to that. So in addition to combat, you have elite combats, which are like combats, but they are trickier. They will have higher...
This is the elite combat.
...power, and they'll give you more rewards. And then from the combat and the elite combats, you're earning this mode-specific currency. You can't buy it anywhere. It's all wiped after the run as well, called combat tokens, which then you can spend in shop nodes to recruit new characters to your squad. So in every single shop, you're going to see 3 characters from that list I talked about, or 3 combat modifiers from also a list associated with the event, and you're able to spend the combat tokens to add them to your squad. And then similar to shops, but more of a freebie, are care packages, where you'll just see 3 characters or 3 combat mods that you can choose to add to your squad. You won't know what it is until you get in there. And then
hopefully they show it later, but the care package node he's talking about, so this is a heal node. Go figure, across the heal thing. The care package one is it's a square blue box. That's your care package. It could be characters or it could be different sort of packs that you can then apply to those. There's something I wanted to say. Oh, this elite mission up here, this is the only way that you earn that yellow currency that carries over to future runs where you get to apply new beneficial things. So I found when I was doing my first couple runs, like I wanted to spam these as much as possible, build up those tokens. I could then apply new effects into the gameplay, and that would help me just nuke through the nodes a lot faster.
And we have healing stations, which this is in Scourge you aren't allowed to heal in between your matches. This is kind of a new thing that we added that will give you healing currency that you can use throughout the match, because this entire dungeon is a persistent health kind of thing. So all the enemies have persistent health, you have persistent health, so any damage that you take in a previous match will carry on forwards.
So really, there's a lot of strategic choice that you're going to have to make every single time that you're doing one of these runs. So it's really important that as you're going through, especially on some of the higher difficulties, to really be paying attention to what do I need, where are my cooldowns at. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there should be many decisions, from starting characters that you pick to whether or not you take a combat or a heal or a shop.
By the way, isn't this room beautiful? We got the set on the back. We got the danger room door. I really like this room.
On your next node, or to, like you said, managing your cooldowns on the kind of the more hardcore game level. There's going to be lots of decisions to make outside of combat in this case.
Okay. So are there a specific amount of nodes that you're going to do? How long will a run also normally be?
I would say that we aren't locked into how many nodes there are just yet, but a run we're shooting for around 30 minutes from start to boss. So
slow your roll, Max. You have beautiful hair. You do look a little bit like Hercules. It took me about 10 minutes to do a run, okay? If you're not crippled by decision making, it should take you about 10 minutes to do an entire run. 5 minutes when you're doing your opening runs while you're building up those yellow coins so you can get in there with like more beneficial rules and stuff. It's not a big time sink once you get in there. Like I said, I don't know if I said on this take. I did 3 hours of this, and I did lots of runs. I ended up going in and being able to nearly max out the extra stuff that you could do just by tunneling down the elite missions in my first dozen runs or so. And so it doesn't take that long. Like as long as you're not playing like Mobile Gamer, where decisions take you 40 minutes, or Scotty, you'll be all right. You be all right.
you might not make it to the boss every time, so it might not be 30 minutes every time. But if you're making it all the way there, that's what we're shooting for.
What kind of rewards are we looking at? Is it going to be similar to a Scourge, and that there's going to be, milestones, a leaderboard? How is all that going to work?
It is similar to a Scourge in that there are milestones and leaderboards, but the scoring for it is a little different. So, for one, the leaderboards are going to be mostly cosmetic. There might be some global milestones attached to them. That's mostly because this is a very, very replayable mode, and so we didn't want you to have to grind too hard for the new character or anything.
That 100% makes sense. So I was talking about, how do you make me want to really engage this mode? If this is a pure cosmetic thing where there's really decent milestone rewards that you get for maybe just beating the danger room once, but then I'm fighting for a new frame or a caution or something like that. And then I can spend 5-6 hours on this danger room for however long the duration it's going to be in the game for, right? And I can get every single rule put on. I could play till I get the perfect run where I get all 5 Thunderbolts and I do nothing but elite missions because I get more points doing that all the way up into the boss mode, right? So if it's just for a cosmetic thing, then that's going to be more palatable for a lot of people. That's good.
And then on the milestone side, we're also changing things up from Scourge, where in Scourge, you can click the highest difficulty and you get points on every single combat that you do. So there's kind of some manipulation that you can do to get all the milestones. In this case, you really only get the milestone points from defeating the final boss. Yeah. So you pick a difficulty, and if you defeat the final boss at that difficulty, you'll unlock the milestones that accompanies.
So I did difficulty 10. It gave me 100,000 milestone points for it. Up to that point, I think I earned 1,100 milestone points. So it's kind of I don't know if it's Tower or Sword Satellite, where all of a sudden it's floor 50 is worth 100 million points and floor 1 is worth 200 points. That's what he's saying. You're not going to game the system where you're going to get the rewards that are associated with doing difficulty 10 by doing difficulty 8 a bazillion times. No, so you're going to have to do difficulty 10 for it, which with repetitive play, you're just going to eventually get there.
Very cool. Well, I think that leads well into the next question. So how accessible will the danger room be? I know that we're going to have some difficulties that you already talked about, but for a brand new player, how is that going to work? And what happens if you don't have all the characters for specific teams, since you are using your own roster?
Yeah, we are, for the first game mode in a long time, I think, we are trying to make this accessible to every single player in Marvel Strike Force. So you can pick this up the day before it comes out, and you should hopefully be able to play it on day one, which is pretty neat. And the way we're doing that is, for one, we're going to have the difficulty selection, which is going to span that whole day one to end game player power level. And then we are also introducing something brand new for this game mode, and it's only in this game mode, called rental characters, where you normally, when you're adding a character to your squad, it's straight from your roster, similar to Scourge. And in this mode, you're also going to have some number of rental tokens per day that you can spend to rent a character at a set power vector, even if you don't already have them unlocked. So you might have 2 out of the 5 Thunderbolts, and you might see one that you don't have that you want to use, and you'll have a rental token so you can grab that character for that run of the danger. You won't be able to use it on the next run, so it's a per run kind of thing.
Yeah, so like everything in this game mode, when I get a character, because I beat Node 2, I don't get to keep that character for the next run. I can't start with 5 characters next run. We always start with 2 characters. This rental character thing seems interesting enough. You're definitely still going to be, and some people are going to like this, some people are going to hate this, you're still going to be rewarded for having the investments in your roster. Because as you saw there, the rental characters, if I can just get onto it there, the rental characters, what is this, gear tier 12? They do cost half of what it would normally cost, though. Actually, they're 150 here. I thought they were 300 up here before. Maybe that was just a playtest thing. But these are the characters that are his, apparently. Right? These characters are the ones that he has in his roster. They all look uniform just because that's what his playtest probably has on it right now. So you're still going to be getting much more benefits from having your character built up. Because at the end of the day, if I had Songbird at 3 red stars, but I had her at level 105 with gear tier 19, that's going to be way better than even if this was a 7-star Hitmonkey, or let's say Songbird again. If this is a 7-star Songbird, but was only level 65 with gear tier 12, my 3-star Songbird, level 105, gear tier 19, blows that character out of the freaking water, right?
You won't be earning them so much as they will just be automatically generating for you. So
let me see this.
You won't be able to use it on the already have them unlocked. So you might have 2 out of the 5 Thunderbolts, and you might see one that you don't have that you want to use, and you'll have a rental token so you can grab that character for that run of the danger. You won't be able to use it on the next run, so it's a per run kind of thing.
And these rental tokens, how do we get them?
Yeah, so you won't be earning them so much as they will just be automatically generating for you. So we'll have a cap of 5, and you'll be getting a total of 5 rentals per day. So if you don't have any of the new Thunderbolts, you could technically rent all 5 of them on a single run per day.
So,
oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, so what that tells me, I thought maybe they would refresh every single time you start a new run. So what that tells me is if you don't have the certain amount of characters, but you do have some, obviously, you're going to do whatever difficulty you can do. You're going to farm those elite missions I was telling you about to get those yellow tokens to really kind of boost up what your squad's capabilities are. And then when you want to put in your final run for the day to get your highest score, complete the highest difficulty, that's when you could use some of those blue rental tokens.
So I want to quickly touch on the procedural generation topic here, because I think I want to just dispel a couple of things that this isn't. Can you explain how the procedural generation works that we're talking about, and how we plan on using it specifically for the danger room?
Yeah, definitely. So procedural generation in this case is, for starters, it's not AI related at all. It is pretty similar to what we're doing in Blitz already in the game, where we are looking at what characters players are using in the meta, like what our top board of defense and offense teams are, what our top Crucible defense teams are, and we are kind of taking an amalgamation of those and making a succinct single wave combat with them. So we might take 3 Annihilators because they're popular in all sorts of game modes, and we might take 2 from Starjammers, and we're kind of throwing them onto one team. And so that's what the procedural generation means on the mission side.
Okay, so let me speak to that for a second. So that's the mission side. There's going to be a lot of technical jargon here because Max is too smart for his own good. Let me break this down truck driver style, okay? So let's say there's a pool of 1,000 different combats, which is like a match that you're going into an enemy team. There's 1,000 different enemy teams that exist. Those enemy teams are designed by taking popular synergistic characters that they see people using from various game modes, like he said, 3 Annihilators, maybe the 3 Illuminati characters like Captain Britain, Hank, and Black Panther Shuri. And instead of putting like the full 5 Illuminati, it would just put those 3 with a few Annihilators, maybe with a few Starjammers here. So it's not like this insane sort of, well, this is a hyper team in Crucible defense, and I have Crucible rules turned on, whatever the case may be. How is this going to affect things, right? So instead, he's used the word amalgamation, which is it mashes it up sort of thing. And so they'll have like 1,000 different matches that the game is going to randomly choose from. So instead of a match being AI generated in real time, there's this pool of 1,000 different matchups that get pulled for a certain combat, whether it be for the combat nodes or the elite combat nodes. I'm very curious how like difficulty was selected here though, because I ran into a situation where it was a very popular second node where there was the 3 new Illuminati members and they had speed up on spawn, and no matter which starting 2 characters I took, I would just get infinitely controlled and I'd have to like hobble into the next node with, if I didn't restart because it was just that annoying, I'd have to go into the next node with like 40% life. Because I mean that first node, the enemies are really weak, but just the control of the Illuminati team is so off the charts that they would still control like my really, really well built up Thunderbolt characters. Anyway, I'm sure he'll talk about it.
As far as the system side, we're also procedurally generating the map itself. So the order that you will encounter nodes, what the missions are, what nodes you might see, that's all procedurally generated as well. So it's kind of twofold.
Okay,
homie. Well, you guys failed then, because that Illuminati node should not have been on the second tier. So the way I'm thinking what he's talking about, I look at it like a tree or like an apartment building, okay? And on that apartment building is the ground floor. That's the node you started on. And then once I beat node 1, tree is better. So it branches out into 3 different options, right? And that should be the second level, where of those 1,000 procedurally generated teams we were just talking about, only a certain amount of them fit the right difficulty level to be slotted in there. And they would have the certain team power for that particular floor, as well as like enemy composition. So maybe they just need to iron out. That was the only node that was like that, by the way. So I'm just being super nitpicky here. But yeah, definitely, yeah, that has to be done for sure.
And we kind of talked about how these procedural generated teams, we're not necessarily going to throw like a Mephisto Scroll Annihilators team at you on node 1. How are we kind of looking at that from the back end on making sure that it's gradually harder as you go versus in your face from moment 1, you have no chance?
Yeah, roguelike is known to be a little hardcore with the randomness, but some things are a little too hardcore. And so how we're doing that is we're generating a very large number of missions, and then missions designers are actually going through and assigning each one of them a difficulty. And so we are assigning those difficulties, and then as you go throughout the dungeon, you have a chance to get one at a higher and higher and higher difficulties. So you might just be getting the difficulty 1 bucket for the very first node, but when by the time you're at the end, you're getting the higher difficulties.
Okay, so exactly what I thought, except they failed to get that Illuminati one into the right bucket. Okay, so let's say there's 1,000 generated teams, procedurally generated teams, and they're going to make 100 of them be for that second tier of nodes, 100 of them for that third tier nodes, 100 of them for that fourth tier nodes. So you still have just this like, because it's factorial, right? You have just like, you should never really have the same exact sort of combats depending on how big a pool of nodes that we have in that regard goes. So let's say, no, I'm not going to break it down too much. You should just never have the same sort of exact combat enemies in a given run.
So a couple final questions here. How often do we plan on the Danger Room appearing in game?
So the hope
Ooh.
is to be close to a monthly basis and lean into ages pretty well as well, and then kind of accompany a new team release. And so the goal is
I
for
like that.
new Danger Rooms to kind of feature the new team that just came out, as well as the team that came out before it, and hopefully be able to create a pretty accessible experience by having both of those teams in there.
Okay. And I think
Let me speak on that because this is interesting, right? Like I was saying, those gold tokens, there was a activate raid rules thing. And the two teams that would fit the description he just gave, Thunderbolts and Vigilante, they're both raid teams, so they benefit from that, right? It would not be as great if, say, the next team is a Crucible team, and then so it's a Crucible team, and maybe Crucible rules will be one of the things you could put on, but the secondary option is a raid/war offense team. Because then they're not going to do as good. Are you really going to be able to score as high if you don't have your characters built up? Because you saw the rented characters. They're very small compared to the possibilities that you can build your characters up, at least from what we've seen here. So that is a tad concerning, but as long as they line it up properly, or if they just make sure there's both of those rules that you can act from, like there's a activate Crucible rules, but there's also an activate raid rules, then I guess that's fine. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't matter. Then you just got to do that.
I think the big thing that everyone wants to know, when will the Danger Room launch?
Yes.
It's going to be coming out May 22nd, which is fast approaching, I think. So
Yeah, 8 days.
Very fast approaching. And I do want to say that I can confirm today that Max and I will be doing a live playtest on Twitch on May 20th at
Nice.
11 a.m. Pacific. So you can head to the description if you aren't already following us there and follow us. And we'll be sure to remind you of that stream as it gets closer to the date. Max, I want to leave you with kind of the final thought here. What are you most excited for players to see with the Danger Room?
You know, one thing that RJ told me very early on, he said, Max, put a lot of Easter eggs in there. Our players like Easter eggs. And so I think I'm pretty excited for our players to find all of the different builds that you can beat that final boss with. All of the teams that are in there and all of the friends of the teams are there. There should be a way to the end with them. Some of them might take a little bit more RNG grinding, but I think a lot of the mods and the characters that you'll find, there's some pretty fun ones in there.
Well, I am definitely looking forward to it, and I'm for sure looking forward to the community getting to experience this. I think it's going to be a very fun time. So thank you so much for joining me today, Max. I appreciate your time.
Okay, so he signed up. So what what he ended up saying there is basically, I found that Songbird and Victoria Hand, if I chose them, I would have a very easy path to success. And what he just said is, maybe take another look at Iron Patriot and see what happens when you play with Iron Patriot. See what kind of scourges might pop up, or what kind of packs might pop up where you're doing the gameplay with him as a usable character, because it might unlock certain things. So that's pretty cool. I like that, and I'm actually going to go, it's probably not on our playtest, so I'll wait till the 22nd, which is 8 days from now. Guys, Danger Room next week. That is super duper excited. Shout out to Pathfinder and Max for putting this video on for us. I'm excited for the 20th when they do their playthrough. Yeah, I am very excited about the Danger Room. Like he was saying earlier, they're getting this out quickly, and they're gonna tweak it according to how the community receives it, what the community thinks would be good additions to it. And I definitely think there's a lot of things that they could still add here. That's the fun part of Marvel Strike Force. Like, our core gameplay concept of having Marvel characters, which you could make so many meme rules about when it comes to Marvel characters, right? And when you have just very, very interesting abilities, but there's only four per character, 3 per character, special, alt, base, passive, yeah. Just that tic-tac-toe or that rock, paper, scissors sort of thing that you can then explode with a game mode like this, I think is really interesting and exciting. Let me know. This was a bad picture to leave. Sorry, Pathfinder, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, we don't want to put Max on after we stuck that face on you. All right, hold on, that's not fair. We'll leave it here. Okay, all right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you're thinking about roguelike after seeing this, or I guess we can call it Danger Room now. I'm gonna sneeze. I've been fighting a sneeze this whole time. Bye. I'm gonna go sneeze.
That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.